Really impactful day, lots of conversations around finance and inclusion and economic stability and resilience. And one of the things that's really special about the Punchbowl News HQ is the community aspect, particularly during CBCF ALC Week. We are thrilled to be here for the third year in a row at Unconventional Diner. And this is the second time that we are bringing together ambassadors from the past and present that are really leaders in the CBCF ALC community, in the public and the private sector. We've had kind of each year looked and highlighted folks that are doing really amazing work, and I'm excited to have three of those people joining me this afternoon, and we are going to talk a lot about kind of how they got to where they are, what inspires them, what drives them, and hopefully we'll leave on an inspirational note in sometimes challenging times. With that, I'm going to welcome Tasha Cole. She is Senior Advisor to the DCCC. We have Sean Townsend. He is, we can sit down here. He is the CEO and President of the Restaurant Association, Metropolitan Washington, and Nicole Varner, Executive Director of the Congressional Black Caucus PAC. Thank you all so much for joining me. So we often do surveys after events like this, and the ambassador panel was one of the top runners of what we did last year, so we wanted to bring it back and could not think of three better people to be here with me this afternoon. So the theme of this year's CBCF is Made for the Moment. The three of you have risen to very high levels in your careers. But let's start with a look back, and we'll go down the line. Maybe Nicole, we can start with you. How did you get to where you are today? Was there a moment that kind of catapulted you into the position you are?
You know, that's a really interesting question, and thank you for having me today.
Of course.
I was pretending to be a lawyer, actually, before I came to Capitol Hill.
Okay.
And I went to law school and everything. And it wasn't fulfilling to me. And a friend of mine was like, well, you should go be a staffer on the Hill. And I was like, well, I don't know what that is. And I was fortunate enough to meet former Congressman Earl Hilliard and his son, and they kind of like walked me through and explained to me, and I was like, oh, I can do this. I can help people. I can use my law degree, and my mama won't be mad. And it kind of catapulted me to move here, and my first boss was Joe Kennedy, who was so kind and really had a heart for service and gave me that same inspiration.
I love that. Sean, you have, we were joking beforehand that you're going to be on the hot seat, but you have been in the thick of it, certainly, in your role today. How did you get to be in the place you are today?
A little unexpected, non-traditional as well. And I've been in D.C. in the area since '95, and in D.C. proper since 2009. And so really worked hard to get involved in the community. I felt like because I'm not a native Washingtonian, for those that know how serious that conversation can get, I'm not. I'm from Charleston. But I felt like because I wasn't from here, I needed to go extra hard to get involved and be in the community. 9-to-5 job, local government, and I think my career and involvement, it met at a crossroads when I campaigned for the mayor and became the inaugural nightlife director for the city, and also prior to that did some work in hospitality, nightlife on behalf of government as well. So know the lay of the land very well. And I think all of that combined set me up to be in my current role now.
Amazing. Tasha?
Well, I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, Anna. I love this program and the platform. I think, like both Nicole and Sean, I had a completely untraditional career path. I started in television. My first job was in television. I had an Emmy for the first documentary I did, so I should probably be somewhere sitting on somebody's nightly news, or making films. But I shifted to politics, and because I was working in Tallahassee, Florida, which was the state capital. And I'm dating myself here. Some of you probably learned about this in your history books, but what probably my catapult to me was being in Florida during the 2000 election, with, against, yes. Al Gore won the state of Florida, but the numbers 537 are still triggering for me because that's what they said was lost by Al Gore in the state. But that really catapulted my career. I learned so many of the people I met then I'm still in touch with now. We have a history, we have a story behind that. And that really was the first time that the country learned that everyone should not vote on one day, the same day, that was really the first time we had an appreciation for that. I mean, up until that time, you voted on election day, election was over. That introduced early voting, so many of the things you see now, absentee ballot, being able to vote in sight prior to election day started really in Florida with 2000. And that catapulted me to be the early vote director in the next presidential election. But I came here in Washington, D.C. Like you, I'm not a native Washingtonian. I date a native Washingtonian, so I will tell you that is a big deal. They are very territorial about that. I love living here, and I've been here like 20 plus years, worked on Capitol Hill, have worked conventions, and worked in labor before I came here. So my mother says, okay, can you pick something? So similar to you, Nicole. But I think that it's just been exciting to be here, and all the experience have been historic.
I love the through line, which is basically, just because you think you're going to start or go in one direction, life is rarely a straight line, right? I mean, I think for all of us, and it's a good, okay, aside, they've made it up here, and they also had a zigzag in their career, right? Well, let's fast forward to the present. You all are charting new paths. There's challenges. I think one of the things, and people ask me all this all the time, so I'm going to turn it to you all. What is because I get out of bed really early in the morning, but what is your get out of bed factor? What drives you and motivates you each day? Is there something that you kind of pop up every day and say all right, here's my North Star, or and Tasha, we can kind of go down this way. What is it that motivates you?
My car note.
That's some real honesty right there. I appreciate that.
My bills, mortgage, rent. But I'm still a news junkie, so I still have my alarms set, for 5 or 6, 7 a.m. And the reason I say that is I also am intentional about watching shows like Today's Show and things so I can know what's happening outside of D.C., outside of the bubble that we live here, because just the mentality of being here in D.C., but I think what also motivates me is just these opportunities, the work that we do, Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. Just this is like the Super Bowl of politics for us this week. And so, just being able to interact and have relationships and do the mapping. There were so many of us are 0 degrees of separation, So I really am just passionate about getting up and seeing what's new, seeing what's happening in the world, what happened overnight. And then what is the rest of the day going to look like for people, not just me, but other people who are across the country and the world, really.
Sean?
How much time we got? I don't necessarily sleep these days. I go to bed thinking about the food service industry, more specifically now in DC with everything that's been happening. And before this, our industry here in the city, we were still recovering from the pandemic. I know it seems like a decade ago, but our restaurants still haven't quite recovered. We were some of the first businesses to close and the last to open. Workforce has been an issue. So when you add another layer of August already being the slowest month of the year for us, and then the presence of National Guard and ICE detaining, our immigrant workers who, I'm sure a lot of us know they're the backbone of our industry, can't really go to sleep at night. And so I wake up with that on my mind, just trying to figure out how else we can best support the industry. Yeah. Sorry to be a little somber, but
it's real. That's the reality. That's what we're here to talk about.
No, that's really, it's a good point. Honestly, I think that this job, although it is hard and it has its days, I think this job is fun. I'm the extreme extrovert, and I love talking to people and meeting people. Now, listen, don't everybody run to me at once. But it's something new and different. I was a chief of staff for 4 years before this position, and every day I was doing something different. No 2 days are the same. One day you're running down the hallway behind your member in a pair of heels, and the next day you don't move from your desk the whole day. And now moving over to the PAC, I get the opportunity to support all of these members of Congress in this really historic organization such as the CBC, and it's amazing the breadth and the diversity that we all bring to the Congress. And it's just so exciting to me when I talk to the young people and explain it to them, or if I'm talking to people who I want to give me money, about how if you want something in a member of Congress, you will find it in the CBC. And that is just, I get to learn every day, and I'm not sitting in a classroom being bored. I'm getting to learn from people like Mr. Clyburn and Mr. Meeks and Jasmine Crockett and Maxwell Frost. And I think it makes me a better and more well-rounded person every day.
All right, we're going to move forward to the future. So we've gone past, present, now future. Each of you represents a different sector, industry. What is the most significant growth opportunity you see when it comes to progress on issues such as access and economic prosperity, kind of bringing it back to what we've been talking about throughout the entire day?
That's a great question.
We're going deep.
I think it's interesting. Someone asked me earlier today around economic opportunity, and I think it's going to be really important for us to continue to look at, and I think you spoke to this too in terms of industries and sectors and economies and workforce development, and really looking at what companies and economies are investing, what parts of the country are they investing, where are they moving. A lot of times young people will come and ask me around campaigns and where they should work, and I always tell them they should, you can work obviously in the battleground states, but as you're thinking about it, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, no one thought Georgia was going to be a battleground state. But it was also somewhere you could learn, you could, meet candidates like Nicole is referencing, and really, learn your chops there. So I do think that the economic opportunity and where we're seeing voting and where we're going to see trends and emerging voters and continue to see that is going to be tied to economic opportunities. We're seeing a demographic shift. Obviously, COVID propelled that of people living here, living in the East Coast, living up north, and then moving to the South. But I mean, you're going to continue to see those trends as you see companies that decide where they're going to invest, where does it make sense for them to invest. So I think that, for me, is where I see the tie of politics, investment, because you also see civic engagement, right? Because you're going to see more business leaders, more communities, those entire infrastructures that have to be either built up or, kind of renovated, to accommodate for new people and new opportunities coming to the area.
Super interesting. Widening the aperture, basically. Not just to your point, let's not just go to Wisconsin or wherever, but to think about, okay, there's a lot of, I think that's a super interesting point, especially as you think about some of these new cities that are really seeing some growth. Sean?
I think for us, for me, it's 3 buckets. It's identifying the challenges and advocating to folks on the Hill or down at the Wilson Building, which is our city hall here in DC. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to ensure that when people come here to DC for whether it's CBC or World Pride or whatever the event is, to make sure that we are hospitable and that folks know that DC is open regardless of the politics or wherever the pendulum is. We go through this every 2 to 4 years. I was saying that earlier, but the rest of the world doesn't, and so we can adapt and adjust much more. And so it's our job to say, hey, it's cool. Come on.
Water's warm.
It's cool. And so I feel good seeing you all here today, regardless of where you're from. And we're in a restaurant, so thank you. I think the additional piece.
How I got Sean up here. I was like, come on, man, we're at Unconventional Diner. You got to do this for me.
And then, I think it's important for all of us to just be present in the moment. And at some point, you got to ignore the noise and just get back to what it is that you do. And I think that we can't. There's no performance in progress. Like, I'm done performing. Like, let's roll sleeves up and let's do the work in order to get real progress.
I like that. No performance in progress. That's great. Nicole.
I think economics looks a little bit different for me from my perspective, because part of what we do is provide the opportunity for people who wouldn't typically have the opportunity to run for Congress to run for Congress. We help them with staffing, we help them with ads, we help them with physical dollar donations. But these folks who wouldn't necessarily have the opportunity to run for Congress also come from a multitude of backgrounds, and they can represent a multitude of Americans who are facing different economic challenges across the country right now. And so getting people into office using our dollars to give them the opportunity to run for Congress and be elected, then gives them, in theory, and in purpose, the opportunity to lift all the boats with their tide that rises, because they can protect these economic opportunities that everyday Americans are looking for and are so hungry for, because their wallets, inflation is going up and dollars and wages are not. So, bringing people into Congress who can help protect and make a better path forward for not only young people, but for everybody across the country is kind of our way into the economic.
The North Star, for sure.
Well, I do just want to note that DC has the highest minimum wage in the country. Just plugging it there. Just plugging it.
And that is fair.
All right. We are going to do 2 rapid fire questions before we get the hook here and the people get thirsty for the toast. I got to give everybody what they want. Number 1, what's one word you would use to describe CBCF this year?
The gauntlet.
That's the most honest answer possible. You've been doing all the things. Sean?
Reset.
I like
Can I
that.
give context?
Please.
I mean, we have to redefine what our power is as the people, and we also need to redefine what their power is as well. So it's a reset.
Homecoming.
All right. Last question. In the spirit of our ambassador community, what's one piece of advice that you have for those in our community who are seeing you on stage, are inspired about their next step and what they could be doing next in their life? One piece of advice.
Always look forward. And it's okay if you make a mistake, so is everyone else. We've all made mistakes. I'm sure I made 50 mistakes before I even got here today. But it's okay. Always look forward, trust yourself, trust your instinct, because you'll know if something doesn't feel right. You're going to know it. Your body's going to react to it. There's something that's going to happen. Your body will say, this isn't right. So trust your instincts.
I'll say 2 things. One, there's Washington, D.C., and there's the District of Columbia. It's 2 different worlds. Right, so whether you live here or play here, get to know both worlds, because they're 2 different things. And then in that same vein, know the power of your network. Continue. I mean, as much as I used to hate coming to the CBC stuff, I'm not gonna lie. I realized the power and connectivity and networking and establishing new relationships, because you just never know what that relationship will do for you in the end. So those are my 2.
I like it.
So I mentor a lot of young people, and I used to say, don't be afraid to take a step back to get to your path forward. But now I've kind of changed it and told people, don't be afraid to change your path to move forward, because like I said earlier, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I thought I was going to work in a high-rise building and make all of this money. Here I am working for the CBC PAC. I love it every day.
You can still get to the high rise, though. It's coming.
Thank you.
It's coming.
See, and this is why it's homecoming, because we're family. But don't be afraid to take a different path is basically the advice that I give to everybody, because everybody thinks we have this kindergarten mindset. We're all supposed to be on the same path at the same time, doing the same things. That's not how it works. Once you hit college, it's like a scatter shot. So just take your shot.
I love that. All right, we are going to leave it there. Tasha, Nicole, Sean, thank you so much for being on the Ambassador Roundtable today and for being active members of our community.
Thank you.
We are going to, there's going to be some champagne that's going to be coming down, so we're going to exit you guys off, and then we're going to do the toast in just a minute.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.